Welcome to Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
Hello, everyone. This is Roger Chen from University of San Francisco, and we are conducting this interview sponsored by University of San Francisco Center for Asia Pacific Studies, short for CAPS. And our guest today is Lee Fang, and we want to thank you, Lee, for kind of joining our program to share your wisdom, your insights on adopting the enterprise AI system in your company. Please briefly introduce yourself and also your company.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Hi, everyone. My name is Lee Fan. I'm currently Chief Technology and AI Officer for Circle Internet Group. For those who don't know, Circle is a global financial technology company building economic operating systems for the internet. We're creating a neutral programmable layer for digital dollars and enable money to move with the same speed, transparency, and security as the information and data to do today. Now, in my role as a technology officer, I manage all the engineers, data scientists, and the tech ops in the company and build the product and the services. My another role as an AI officer, I set up the company's AI strategy, and I also lead a small AI team to execute and enable everyone in the company, whether tech or non-tech.
Thank you. Actually, that's such a great background, and we are really looking forward to kind of discuss your experience.
Discussion topic: Enterprise AI, from prototype to production. Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
You touched upon this. Let's continue this theme about transitioning from prototyping to the production phase, meaning production means like a scale up for the AI to use in the mainstream, right? So could you kind of elaborate more the challenges you faced for any kind of AI systems from the prototyping phase to the production phase? What challenges did you face? Why you faced that? And also the lessons learned to avoid, or mitigate such challenges in the future.
Yeah, I would say, first of all, we are still in the middle of it, right? So I think many of our AI effort in past year was majority in the prototyping phase, but some of them already launched in the production, and many of them are still in prototype and going probably production.
Maybe Lee, before you continue, could you kind of give us your company's explanation or version of prototyping production? And in your company, what does that mean? Hey, this kind of AI system or agentic system is in the production. So we have some kind of understanding of this concept in your company's context.
Yeah, so I would say when the production means that the AI workflow or the agent is really doing the work, that I would say the previous workflow changed because they rely on the AI, right? Prototype means we build things, it's working, but honestly speaking, the real work is still done by the employee, and the employee probably is doing the faster, but their workflow haven't really changed. It's the same step, but each step maybe this person already do much faster, but it haven't really changed because we have to be, again, because of the industry we are in, we want to be very careful and say side by side, we run the AI and also have an employee to run, and we need to compare the result. Quite a few projects launched, and many actually about maybe half is like a side-by-side close to launch, but there's also haven't even finished. The production meaning, as I said, the workflow already changed. We have one manager actually happily claimed that now I'm managing the agent, not the person, doing what I used to have a team doing it. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So that's a very clear definition about the production. Basically means the AI workflow will dominate and the people will cooperate with the AI. So that's a production.
Yeah. So our ask for the team is you need to learn to manage agent, because this particular person, the learning is the agent is not like a run you're gonna forget. And we all know AI actually have a kind of like person you also need to manage. You need to monitor the performance, monitor the throughput and the accuracy, and with the underlying model update, and you will need to constantly see whether you should update and tune the golden set and check the evaluation data set, things like that.
Yeah, that's great. So now let's go back to the original question. In this kind of process, do you have any kind of learnings or wisdoms observing the transition or managing the struggling or the challenges from prototyping to the production?
Yes, I think the main learning is uh, because with the centralized team, majority from the engineer org, right? So sometimes the engineer leaders have a hard time to understand, hey, there's a tool, why can't they do it? And I think the learning is the non-tech team, they actually have a strong motivation to learn, but they lack of a formal training, say, understand how to set up evaluation, understand the importance of checking and analyze the data constantly, because they
Mm.
sometimes have a default assumption, say, hey, it's working, and now I can forget about this. And that's wrong, because you need to, as the owner, you need to constantly make sure your evaluation data and the golden the context is updated. So those are mindset change, because engineer knew even if you launch a production service, you need to have a monitor dashboard. This is a training for engineer, but it's not a training for non-tech people. That's one thing. Yeah.
That's great. Actually, could you kind of, because you mentioned for the non-tech, like a functional area, non-tech functional area, they need to constantly monitoring. And one of the reasons you say the context has changed. Uh, what do you mean by that? Like, give us an example. The context change requires the non-functional team or tech teams to constantly monitor. What do you mean by that? Because of
Yes,
context
for
change.
we always say if you don't have the right context, the AI will not make a right decision, right?
Yes.
For example, we one of the big AI project is we try to really have automated and efficient onboarding process. In the again, we are in a fintech and we have a very rigorous onboarding for our customers and the future
Yeah.
partners. We do like a very long checking on every perspective. And in the past, it's very labor intensive. Utilizing AI, a lot of the things are automated, but at the end of the day, because regulations keep changing. And
Oh.
also, when the online system, like there's a lot of misinformation because we do a lot of checking by online research. So without updating your understanding of the current rule, without understanding your understanding of how people manipulate the online information, your AI work cannot stand still. So you have to constantly feed and say, hey, okay, now this is the latest rule from NYDFS, or this is the latest privacy constraint you have to follow. Things like that. Basically, those are the things that's not going to sit still. In the past, there's a human being constantly on top of that. Right now, we still need some human being, but hopefully the person's job is much easier. It just like a need to make sure that the AI system is updated. Yeah.
Now it makes perfect sense because you basically ask AI agent systems to kind of modify its behavior, its decisions based upon the real situation, because the real
Yes.
situation say always changes. That is great, actually. Maybe let's kind of move on to the next question, because you talked about the AI agent multiple times, and there are a lot of discussions about the pros and cons of using AI agents. So could you kind of elaborate this? For example, we hear some discussions about Anthropic. They basically recommend do not use many agents because each agent has its own limitations. Could be costly. So they recommend using less agent and one agent use multiple skills and things like that. So do you have any kind of a sharing about using agents in your workflow systems, deploying agents using in your workflow systems?
Yeah. So I will say that whatever we learned today is extremely early.
Mm.
Because of the industry we're in, at least on even the production systems, I want to emphasize right now, even though AI, like some of the workflow, AI does most of the work, but we ultimately have a human in the loop. Now, sometimes it's a human at the last step to make sure. Sometimes there's a human in a couple of a critical step, but we want to make sure there's a human in the loop so far. Now, it's not like I don't believe AI is powerful, but because the industry and also I believe the AI is constantly improving, and I do not want to lose track of what's producing and what's like not lacking. So we, in some way, I don't think we have reached a point like a multiple agent talk to each other, not yet, right? And I do think this year we're gonna do a lot of experiment, but I cannot really comment on how dangerous, because I personally, within our enterprise, there's not much of that part of experience. But I do want to say that at this point, I do think a senior leader, let's say either in tech or in compliance, their experience judgment are still very important. It's a very early stage of AI in enterprise. I think AI learn from the right people are very important, because that's, again, depend on where to learn, right? So I think in many cases, it's too early to let AI do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got the same sense, because if you look at some media, they talk about the orchestration as very hot concept, like an agent managing multiple agents. But it seems to me, actually, based upon the real practice, it's a little bit too early for many.
I definitely, at least for us, it's a little bit too early. Now, I do believe this year it's very likely we will start. Right now, I can just be honest, we have senior leaders or senior tech engineers are orchestrated some of the agent. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very honest and also very valuable kind of advice.
Thank you for watching.